Thanks to those joining me live and those that have been joining me here on the archive by the one and the only Lynden from Boxing Deep Dive. Make sure you subscribe to this channel here on YouTube if you haven't already. And you could also catch, Boxing Deep Dive content on Instagram under that same handle as well. How's it going, Lynden?
Yeah, really good. Thanks, mate. I appreciate the one and the only. I don't get called that very often, but no, I really appreciate you having me on, mate. And obviously, there's been a fair bit happening in the last few weeks that we've got to catch up on.
For sure. It's easy to be the one and only when you're like Australian and you're on a
Oh,
Hispanic
there you go.
Hispanic show. Um, but yeah, for sure. Look, not that I want to go too back, but we haven't had an opportunity to kind of talk about the Tim Tszyu fight. I gave my thoughts, you gave your thoughts. I checked out your content. Um, but I'm just thinking back and thinking to myself, or I've been asking myself, what I don't want to dive into like what happened because we've already touched on that. Like you touched on your channel, my channel, but what what do you think's next for Tim Zoo? Like I it seems like no one really knows, and maybe we should have known. Maybe only him and his close ones should know. But do you think we see him back this year at all? And do you think he should take a long break?
I would be surprised if he came back this year. And look, if I was advising Tim, I would say let's just forget about the rest of 2025. He's already fought twice. A lot of these fighters these days fight once a year, if we're lucky, twice a year. So he's already fought twice.
Mm.
And I just think the last 18 months have been so tough for Tim on a lot of levels. Of course, he's had 3 losses in that time. I would suggest to him to have the rest of the year off. And then it would be, first of all, does he want this? I mean, we all know it's a tough sport, very unforgiving, it's brutal, it's cruel, all that rolled into one. So I would think that if he wants to fight again, it would be okay, let's just do it right this time. Let's not rush into anything. Let's just take a couple of those Joey Spencer type of fights, get back on track, and then see where we're at and whether we want to then relaunch from there. What I would hate to see is he comes back early next year or even the end of this year and has a Joey Spencer type win, and then we all jump on like the Aussies. We're all a little bit gullible sometimes. We're all pretty, or we get hoodwinked pretty easily, and we're all back. And then he gets back into another Fundora type of fight. So I would just think, as I said, take a rest, come back and have a couple of tune-up fights, see where you're at, see where your head's at, see where the team thinks you're at, and then maybe it might be the Zerafa fight. It might be just another step up to a top 10 or 12 ranked fighter. But he's got some decisions to make. I think we've all agreed leading up to the Fundora fight that it was really a crossroads fight for Tim. If he won, it was like, here we go, the open seas, let's go. And if he lost, then he's at the crossroads. And that's where he is at the moment. But I just think, I'm not sure what you guys have sort of read into it over there, but over here, it's just been straight away the Australian boxing media have just been all over the whole, it's Michael Zerafa and what's next and it's just ridiculous. I think the guy needs to rest. He needs to recuperate. He needs to get his head together. He needs to get away from boxing and really make up his mind about what he's actually going to do going forward.
Shout out to Puerto Rican Rum, long time subscriber. And I know he's excited about Xander Zayas winning the title. Shout out to you guys. You've been Puerto Rico's been. I know it's Amanda Serrano, and not to be disrespectful to the women, but they've been waiting for that male star in
Mm,
Puerto Rico, and I think they have something going on right there with
mm.
Xander. To be fair, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Look, I the first thing I said, it was I think the first thing Tim has to do is just like take a complete break from boxing.
Mm.
I saw him do. I put it posted in the stories. He's trying to run the treadmill again. Not that there's nothing wrong with running the treadmill. It doesn't mean you're coming back right away. But he said something about back on the grind, like something like that. And I just think what he needs to do is go enjoy the fruits of his labor. Go take a vacation somewhere. Go on a long holiday. Go in front of a beautiful ocean. Go spend time with your family. Don't communicate with anybody else aside from close friends and family. That's it. Don't listen to opinions on the internet. Everyone's an expert, right? Like don't listen to anybody, right? Just stay away from it completely. Enjoy the fruits of your labors first, and after a couple of months, I think he'll know. He'll know. Do I really want to do this? Do I really want to go back to the ring? Do I really want to, start training again, and preparing, and like, put it on the line again? There's a lot of thinking he needs to do, a lot of reflecting, but I think the first thing he needs to do is, like, literally, like you said, just forget about boxing for now. Just take the rest of the year off, and then after that, if you're not itching to come back, then he shouldn't come back. If he is itching it, then that means you want to do it, and that's the best way to do it, in my opinion. But one thing, Lyndon, I've been seeing, and even under the comments of my videos, is, man, are people really hammering both No Limit, and the management team, that will be Glenn Jennings. They're really hammering them, and I just don't like. I get it, but at the same time, I don't. Right? Like Glenn Jennings is not the one in the ring fighting for Tim. He can't, like, that's Tim's job, right? No Limit, I believe, and Glenn Jennings specifically, even before No Limit was involved, right? I know, I'm pretty sure if I'm not mistaken, you worked with Glenn Jennings and Zoo, right?
Yep. Yep.
So they did a good job, bringing him up the ranks, and it's not like they just got him and just threw him to the wolves. That's how people are talking about this. They're talking like they just got Tim Zoo, and like the mama bird, just throw him out there and see if you could fly, Tim. That's just not what happened. Like, they made sure he could fly first before they made him try to fly up with the eagles. But that's as much as they could do. If Tim can't hang with the eagles up there, then there's nothing Glenn Jennings or anybody or No Limit could have done to prepare Tim for that or not. And I believe they're getting a pretty, and I've been critical of No Limit about some stuff. I just don't think this specifically applies.
Mate, I'm 100% with you, and I've discussed this on my channels as well. I don't subscribe to that at all. The way I break it down, there's 4 phases. You've got the promoters, which is No Limit. It's their job to obviously build Tim up, which they did a really good job of. Then to get him the opportunities that he's after. He's the world title fights and the sold-out arenas and all that sort of stuff, and they've done their job. Then it's up to Glenn as the manager to accept that opportunity, and I think all the opportunities he's given Tim so far, they've all worked out, bar a couple, obviously. But then it's up to the conditioning team and the coaches to make sure he's prepared for the fight. And then, of course, it's Tim to get the job done in the ring. I don't see why No Limit, and I'm with you. I've been very critical of No Limit on in certain things, but I don't see why you would criticize a promoter that's just worked so hard and gotten Tim the opportunities. So let's not forget that after the Fundora 1 fight, now whether that was a management hiccup or whatever you might want to call it, whatever. Now, I don't think after that first Fundora fight, we all thought Tim was finished. We all thought it was just one of those freak accidents that happened. I think we all saluted No Limit for getting him a world title fight in his very next fight. And it's all good in hindsight of what happened with Murtazaliev. But then after one tune-up fight, they've got him a rematch with Fundora. I don't know how you could be pointing the finger at No Limit and Glenn Jennings for getting him these opportunities. I know there's been a lot of criticism aimed at the corner. And look, I'll be honest, if I was going to point criticism at anyone, it's the corner. And let's not forget Tim himself. It's not like Tim's the innocent party here. Tim wanted these fights. He stepped up, did the camp. He's kept the same team. Maybe hasn't worked on a few of those flaws that he had. So, yeah, I'm with you that I don't hold No Limit and Glenn Jennings accountable in this at all. I think at the time we're all patting them on the back about the great job they've done of getting Tim an opportunity straight away. It's not their fault that he wasn't able to measure up. And, you know Glenn really well as I do. And great guy. He's got the best interest of his fighters at heart. And I don't think he can be blamed in this aspect. Just my opinion, of course.
Yeah, and a lot of this is just Monday morning quarterbacking. Like, I don't know about you, Lyndon. I don't remember anybody sounding the alarm that, oh no, don't do a Fundora fight. Don't do it. You're gonna ruin Tim's career. I'm talking about the last year, the first fight. Nobody was saying that. The bookies had him. I think Tim was like a 6-1 favorite or something like that. Like it's, and in hindsight, now we know for sure, like, it actually favored Tim the short notice because he was doing better against a guy who was just coming off a knockout loss. By the way, like, this idea, you actually can argue that Samson Lukowicz is the one that did a horrible make the horrible decision or was more careless to put his guy who just got knocked out in the ring with Tim Tszyu. I don't. By the way, I don't think that. I'm just saying if you're going to make an argument about anybody, but nobody was sounding the alarm. Like nobody. It's just that's not like it's not Glenn Jennings. Glenn Jennings is a great guy, but one thing he's not is a fortune teller. He can't tell the future. He didn't have a crystal ball. Oh, you're gonna be busted open in the big end of the second round. I'm still gonna make this fight. Like that's not what happened. Like there's no way for him to know. It was a really good calculated decision, and most importantly, what people need to realize is this: especially when you're a fighter at the who has like kind of at the caliber of a Tim Tszyu, like you're the boss. Tim is the boss. So when Tim is told Keith Thurman's out, that they're offering Fundora and he says, "Do it." Are you sure, Tim? Do it. I want to do it. Guess what? You do it. Like at the end of the day, he is the boss of the situation.
That's right.
And his promoter and Glenn Jennings, his manager, they did their jobs in securing that for him. Unfortunately, what happened in the fight happened. Another thing, the Murtazalia fight. I mean, that's. I just don't understand. I still don't get what all the fuss is about. Like there was a reason the fight wasn't in Australia, and number one, uh, we get it. It was in Florida, whatever. But the point is, nobody was sounding the alarm. Who was warning everybody, saying, "Oh, don't do the Murtazalia fight. No, that'd be horrible. You're going to destroy Tim's career." And nobody was saying that. I don't remember anybody picking Murtazalia to win. I did panels, and nobody was picking Murtazalia to win. Nobody. He was being called a weak link champion and all this. And I just think it's crazy. It's all Monday morning quarterbacking. And in this fight, the odds are close to even, and plenty of people were picking Tim Tszyu to win. Like nobody was picking Tim Tszyu to get dominated and beat the way he was. Like nobody. So I don't know how anybody would expect his promoters to know.
Yeah. Oh, I'm with you there, and I'm with you. I don't remember anyone getting excited about Murtazalia. I know. Well, thinking back, I mean, most people say, "Oh, geez, well, he's probably the easiest touch in the 154-pound division as far as champions go." What a great job that No Limit and Glenn Jennings have done of getting him this fight straight away against the weak link in the division. Of course, it didn't end that way. And then after the Joey Spencer fight, everyone was like, "Geez, this is fantastic." They've got him a rematch with Fundora, and based on the first 2 rounds of the first fight, which I was totally in disagreement with, people say, "Oh, well, geez, he lit him up in the first 2 rounds. This is going to be easy." What a great bit of management and promoting from his team to actually get him the Fundora fight. This time it's going to be easy, and obviously didn't work out that way. But look, everything's great in hindsight, and I don't think No Limit and Glenn Jennings could have done any more in getting Tim the opportunities that he wanted. And you're right, he is the boss. End of the day, he probably has the final say on what happens. But the biggest decision he's going to have to make now going forward is whether he sticks with the in-ring team. And that's probably where the most criticism's been. And he's got some hard decisions to make. And I've, again, discussed this on my videos. Does he go left or does he go right? Does he go left and stay with the current team, his Uncle Igor and the rest of the team? And we're back here in 12 months' time discussing the exact thing we're discussing now. Or does he go right and get a really world-renowned trainer in his corner? I see someone's recommended Andy Lee. I said someone like an Abel Sanchez. Others have said Robert Garcia. Plenty of guys that he could work with, but he's got some really difficult decisions to make. And the hardest thing is that his uncle, of course, his family. Pretty tough calls he's going to have to come to as he gets his career back on track.
Well, I think it's fair to say, and this is nothing against Igor, right? It's not personal, but it's business. You know what I mean? At least from Tim Tszyu's perspective. But like, I think results matter at the end of the day. Like results matter, and it's at this point it's worth it. Like if he's going to continue, I still think he should take a long break in it. Then if he doesn't feel like doing it, just don't do it. You know what I mean? But if he decides to keep doing it, it's why not try a world class trainer? Why not try? I actually like the idea of Andy Lee. I like the idea of Tim Tszyu, who's an aggressive fighter training under Kronk. I don't think it's a bad idea. But there's also some other great trainers out there. And I just don't see what the big deal is. I just don't.
Mm.
Right. And at least give that a shot. It's worth a shot. It may not work out anyway, but it's worth a shot to do it. And I don't see why not.
Mm.
Point blank.
Yeah, I would hope also as well that it maybe his uncle Igor is actually looking at the situation and saying, you know what, I'm going to take the decision out of Tim's hand because I know how difficult it's going to be. I'm actually going to step down as the head trainer because I've taken Tim as far as I can take him. And maybe, you know, if in the best interest of Tim, I'm going to hand him off to one of those really world-renowned trainers. I would think that would hopefully be the decision that gets made so Tim doesn't actually have to, well, effectively sack his uncle, which we wouldn't want to see. Look, looking at a couple of comments there, the other things, of course, that have arisen is he quit on his stool and that sort of stuff. Danny, mate, I respect your opinion, but I don't agree with it. I'm not sure whether you've actually been in a fight like that or in a situation like that. He retired on his stool, yes. And I think it has come out. Nikita actually said yesterday that the corner was the ones that actually stopped the fight. It wasn't Tim. He didn't quit. I just think he had nothing left to give. And look, the corner copped so much for not stopping the fight the first time because of the cut. And probably a no-win situation in this aspect. I think, yeah, look, I, for one, as I said, don't think he quit. I think he retired or he was retired on his stool. I think it's a pretty long bow to draw to say that a fighter in that position actually quit until you've been in that position yourself. And by no means do I think that Tim said, I've had enough, I've quit. He had literally nothing left to give. And I think you can, you can understand the decision making of pulling him out.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of comments. They've been pretty brutal, and I'll be honest, Lyndon. Like some of the most brutal ones that I've seen anyway have been from Australians.
Mm.
At least according to their profiles on Facebook or wherever they're at. According to the profile, they're Australian. I mean, I can't verify
Mm.
that, but a lot of it is, oh, what happened? He said he would die in the ring, and what happened? So like in other words, so they're basically advocating for a fighter to be like willing to die, like they want him
Yes.
to die just
Yeah.
because he said in some interview at one point that he would be willing to die, right? Um,
I don't
you
like when
know,
fighters say that, by the way. I don't like it because I don't think anyone's literally prepared to die in the ring. They shouldn't be anyway. I don't think
yeah,
anyone should be literally prepared to die in a prize fight. As tough and as hard as they are, I don't like when fighters say that, especially when what happened last week
I agree.
happens. Obviously, end up with a big egg on your face.
Yeah, but I guess the thing to me is like, what's with this like need? I guess you could say boxing fans in particular really have this issue with it. Like they really want to rub it in. Like, they really want to make sure that Tim remembers what he said and
Mm.
how like how arrogant does an individual have to be telling a fighter, you said you were willing to die in the ring, so why did you die in the ring? Why
Mm.
don't you leave your family behind and die in that ring? So then I could turn around and criticize the corner again for not stopping the fight and letting it go on too long, like they did the last two times, right? And so I can have that satisfaction, and because for some reason that matters to them. I just think it's horseshit. That's what I think about it. Um,
And I'm with you, mate. Especially, look, my argument all along has been if it's coming from people who've never ever been in the position that Tim was, then how is your opinion relevant? I don't get it. If it was someone like, let's say Arturo Gatti was still around and he said Tim quit on his stool, well, okay, he's been in that position. You sort of listen to what he has to say. But when you've got fans, and with all due respect to them, until you've been in that position, let's not forget, I mean, Tim fought his absolute heart out, but he was taking a lot of punches. And as I said, we weren't in the corner with him sitting on the stool. So until I think you've been in that position, it's probably best just to step back and
yeah, I mean, what do people want? I mean, they still don't shut up about the first fight.
mm,
Like that shouldn't have gone on, and this and that, and Tim fought blind for like 10 rounds, and like if that's not enough to show anybody something. I don't know. He kept getting up in the Murtazalia fight. They had to stop that one. You know what I mean? He kept taking the beating. He kept getting back up. Like I don't know what else people want, but for the people that are talking how they're talking, Steve Kim put out a great post where he was working for ESPN at the time, and shout out to Steve Kim, by the way. But he was there. He witnessed the death of you know uh, Maxim Dadashev, and at the hands of Matthias, and that was a fight where he wanted to keep fighting, but Buddy McGirt actually stopped it. But Buddy McGirt was like, "No, I'm not going to let you go out." But it was still too late, and he ended up passing away. And I just don't. It just isn't like for me. It's not worth your like if the fight's lost and all you got to do is take a beating and maybe something worse happened to you, then at that point it's not a fight anymore, right? It's no longer a fight at that point.
Yeah,
and that's the way I see it.
Yeah, I'm there, mate. And look, and as far as when people say sort of the quitting sort of thing, I mean, we've seen Lomachenko make a few fighters quit. We've seen Matthias make a few fighters quit. Now, that's quitting because they're just frustrated and don't want to fight anymore. But when you've got a guy who's absolutely fought his heart out and he's taking a lot of punishment and he's physically spent, that there's a difference. There's just a difference. I just don't think Tim deserves to be put in the basket of a lot of those fighters that have quit just out of pure frustration. So anyway, everyone's got their own opinions.
Yeah, like they can't make up their minds. He quit in this fight. He should have stopped fighting in the last fight. Like, well, what do you guys want, bro? Like these fighters can't win for losing. That's insane. But that's that. Nikita Tszyu is going to be fighting a guy I've never heard of before. I'm going to be honest with you, Lynn. It's Zerafa, and so I look forward to all the posters that are very misleading, making it look like it's Nikita versus Zerafa. But it looks like Is that the collision course? Is that where they're going? In your opinion?
Sorry, mate, I missed that. So I was just going to comment there. Sorry.
Is that the collision course that they're working on, like Zerafa versus Nikita?
It looks like it, but I just think both guys yesterday, when they did the interviews on Main Event, they were both very non-committal to me. I mean, Nikita, you don't get much out of him anyway, but he was like, yeah, well, and George Rose didn't say a lot either. And even Michael Zerafa wasn't really forthcoming as far as wanting that fight. Just to put it out there, everyone, it's going to be $70 to $80 to watch that fight, by the way. And look, they're both just fights to build the narrative of the Nikita and Zerafa fight. But I've just got a feeling that Zerafa's not into the fight. I don't think he really wants it. I think he's got his heart sort of set on Tim Tszyu, but I don't think it's going to happen. And I just don't think he rates Nikita and wants that fight. But looks like that's the fight we're going to gear towards. Brock Jarvis is on the card as well. So maybe they're going to throw him in the mix as well. But look, I don't know, mate. It's a bit of a circus here in Australia. It really is. And a lot of misleading stuff coming out. And these fights on the card, I'm not sure whether you've box wrecked the guys or YouTube and whatever. But the guy that Zerafa's fighting, they're hyping up 18-1, 16 knockouts, had the highlight reel knockout on TMZ or whatever it is, TMZ, whatever you call it, a few years back. They're pumping him up for that. But he's a very, very limited fighter. I would be very surprised if he goes three or four rounds with Michael Zerafa. And then Nikita, I'm not against the fight. Like, I've had a look at the guys fighting. He's a Macedonian living in Germany. Look, Nikita's had a year off. He's had hand problems. He needs to work on a few things. He's been in a lot of punishing fights lately. So I haven't got a big problem with him taking that fight. But to charge people $70 to $80 for it, that's the problem I have.
Oh, it's not one of the free ones, huh? This is
no, it's pay-per-view. Yep, pay-per-view.
Man, it's a triple header. I like how they
triple header. And look, people do the research. They jump on BoxRec, they jump on YouTube. People are already all over it. They're copying a lot of backlash over it. I mean, let's put it in perspective. This fight is going to be more, or the card is going to cost more than Crawford and Canelo. So there you go.
I mean, that's crazy. But I think I saw one of you walking boxing. So Jesse Parson on the card.
Yeah, Jesse Parr, Brendan Grutch, he's a real sort of heavy punching heavyweight as well. I think little young guy in there, Ahmed Redder, looks pretty good as well. He's only had a handful of fights, but he looks pretty good. So look, the card itself, the A side is exceptional. Really, really strong A side. The problem is what we see in a lot of cards these days. The B side just leaves a lot to be desired. That's all.
Do we have an opponent for Jesse Parr?
Not yet, no. Well, we've still got Shannon O'Connell saying, hey, but not going to happen by the sounds of things.
I mean, well, I guess is that supposed to make people like fork out their money? I mean, I just don't get it. Like, I don't know. Like this is just from the outside looking in. Obviously, I'm way on the outside over here in the States. I'm looking at that card, and there's nothing about that card that makes me say, "Oh wow, I really need to watch this."
No.
Right? Oh, Jesse Parson in the card. Oh, really? And who's she fighting? Because I don't know. I know she's not fighting, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just not like that intrigued. I don't know. I just don't get it. It's just me. It's. I don't know how much you're paying Brock Jarvis, but
I doubt it'd be a lot. But look, the thing is over here, mate, what you got to remember, like Australian boxing fans, we're a small, dedicated bunch of fans over here, but it's one of many, many sports. It's very much down the ladder as far as important sports goes. I know in America it's mainstream, a lot of very passionate fans, and they're just as passionate here, just a very, very small base. So what they do is that small base knows exactly what No Limit are trying to do in main event and everyone else are trying to do and pull the wool over their eyes with a lot of these events. But the average sort of boxing fan out there doesn't really know too much about the opponents they put on. They don't know, and that's why they spin it the way they do. And I must admit, George Rose is very, very good at spinning the fights. And he did a really good job yesterday and got people up and about. And that's what it's geared towards. Those fans that might not necessarily be really invested in the sport, they're just those casuals as we speak about. And that's who they're gearing these events towards. But yeah, it's for the people that actually know what's happening. Yeah, it's a bit of an insult that they're trying to, as they say, piss down the back of our legs and tell us it's raining. That's what they're trying to do. So,
well, I'm not saying up for that one, but
do you guys actually get it over here now with the new agreement? Because I know it might actually be the end of the year when DAZN takes over Foxtel and main event here in Australia, where I'm pretty sure it'll be on from what I know.
We generally don't get the No Limit cards unless that they're somehow involved, like with Top Rank ESPN in some way.
Yeah.
But if not, then we don't. But there's just other ways that we can get it.
Yeah, well, I can imagine. But apparently, at the end of the year, when DAZN fully takes over Foxtel here in Australia, apparently the big fights will still be on pay-per-view here, but they'll be able to be streamed on DAZN internationally, which will be great. Which is what they should have done ages ago.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I hope that's what they do. But look, if they couldn't pay me to stay up to watch this one, so there's a saying that Cal likes to say, and he's like, he doesn't like to watch deers getting hunted in cages, right?
Well, that's good call.
That's what this feels like to me. You know what I mean? So it's just whatever. But so what I want to know is if Nikita does the Zerafa fight, I mean, can Nikita lose that fight later in the year? Like, is that a possibility?
Yeah, I for one don't think it's a good fight for Nikita. I really don't. And I just don't look. Potentially, yes, but at the moment, I just think he has a lot to work on. And not to say that Michael Zerafa is really at that top level. We've all seen that he hasn't really been able to get there, in the past against the Laras and Cal Brooks and these types of guys, and Peter Quillins. But for me, I would like to see Nikita maybe wait up to 12 months for that fight. Now, whether Michael Zerafa is still around, he's in his, what was he, 32, 33, or whatever he's now. He might have gone on to other things. I don't know. But I, for one, I just think it's too risky a fight for Nikita at this stage. Now, unless they've decided that maybe Nikita just needs to make as much money in the sport while he can right now, well, that's probably a different story. But just in my opinion, I think if they're really trying to build Nikita up to that world level, Zerafa is just the wrong fight for him now. Look, I also understand as well that No Limit, the promoters, they need to make money. They've invested a lot of money in the sport here, a lot of money in Nikita, and now Michael Zerafa. And if the Tim Tszyu fight now looks like it's off the table. It's what's next, and it's little brother. I don't think they would have wanted to make this fight if they had a choice of everything. But I think the fact that Tim looks like he's off the table, and even if he was winning, it's never really shown an interest in fighting Zerafa since the first fight got cancelled, 4 years ago. And I just think they've gone back to what is the next best fight for Aussie boxing, and that is Nikita versus Michael Zerafa. But as I said before, mate, I don't think either one of them seem into it at this stage. So I think it's going to be manufactured, but I just don't think it's a great fight for Nikita at this point.
Did he get a chance to see that kind of scrum interview that Keith Thurman was doing, and very strangely called out Liam Paro because he said, "Oh, you
Yeah,
guys got that other guy," and I just feel like they're kind of a few weight classes apart. I don't know if that's
it's
going to work.
14 pounds apart. That's all. One's 140, one's 154, and yeah. Look, I obviously don't think he's done his research on Liam Paro. I think he just miscalculated who he was and what weight he's at. But yeah, I did see the Keith Thurman sort of interview, I suppose, if you want to call it that. But I think it was just Keith Thurman, as you got guys say, they're hot dogging a little bit and trying to make the most of the attention he was getting. He just needs to get back in the ring and get another win, I think, Keith Thurman, and stop talking to everyone online, I think.
Yes, for sure. All right. Let's talk about obviously the weight class 154. Junior middleweight. Xander Zayas wins the WBO version of the strap, and so Puerto Rico has a world champion. I will say though, and I'm a fan of Xander, but I'm looking at the landscape, and at the moment, I just don't know if he's ready for like a Murtazaliev or a Virgil Ortiz or a Bohachuk, somebody like that. I'm not even sure he's ready for a Fondura yet. I think even though he said he wanted to fight, and I'm sure he did, it was for a world title, but um, I feel like he's a world champion, but I don't feel he is. He is a world champion, but I mean, he did win a vacant belt. It's not like he beat a champion for it, and I do question whether or not he's actually world level right now. I do have questions about that personally.
Yeah, I agree. I did watch the fight the other day, and look, he did enough to win. Obviously, it was a comprehensive win, but Garcia, I'm not quite sure of his credentials either. I don't know where they found him. Hasn't really been mentioned by anyone really as far as other big fights goes. But look, I think Zayas did enough. Well, obviously he's going to take the fight. It's for a vacant belt, but I don't think he's anywhere near ready for the Fonduras and the Ortizes and the Madramovs and Bowachucks and these types of guys. So look, he's only 22 years of age. I think he's got time. He could probably have a couple of pretty soft defenses, I suppose, and could be a Josh Kelly. It could be a few others that he could probably. I think Josh Kelly would be his mandatory, which I think would be a pretty soft kill for him. Then he gets the voluntary. So, he's got another probably 3 fights before he has to fight maybe someone legit. And look, I know it's funny to say after what we've discussed earlier, but I think he could be someone that Tim Tszyu could actually target going forward. Now, I'm not saying in the next 1 or 2 fights, but potentially. And I think he's a guy that, Tim could maybe measure up to. I know there's a lot of water to go on the bridge as far as Tim goes, but let's stay away from the Ortizes and Funduras and these types of guys. And I think Zayas could be potentially someone they could look at. But yeah, I think he's probably 3 or 4 fights away from stepping up to fighting some of those really top guys.
It's going to be interesting to see what happened with Xander and a lot of the up and comers, prospect contenders that Top Rank has. Top Rank has some of the best matchmakers in the business. They're really good at what they do. However, ESPN, this was the last ESPN show. There's going to be no more boxing on ESPN as far as Top Rank goes, at least unless something else unless as of right now, July 28th here in the States, as of right now, there's no announcement that they're going to renew the deal. So I don't know how Top Rank's going to be able to maneuver without that TV deal. A lot of their up and comers, I don't know. They're going to have to work. It looks like maybe I saw an interview where Bob said they're going to be working with different networks and stuff like that, like maybe sell fights instead of having a long-term contract. So maybe they can still get it done, but that's going to be interesting. But I will say this: with ESPN now done with Top Rank, with PBC looking like they're kind of on the way, like they're kind of hanging on by a thread right now, right? PBC is barely hanging on. It looks to me like more power is being consolidated over to the Saudis, to Turki Al Sheikh, and to TKO is working with them. It looks like they're already making changes, at least here in the States with the Ali Act. And make no mistake about it, that is due to Saudi influence. However people feel about it, I have my feelings about it. I don't necessarily think it's 100% a bad thing, but nonetheless, it is a change that they're doing. But I will say this: the one thing that I don't like is a lot of the Saudis are consolidating more and more power, and they have more and more control of the sport. Some people may think that's a great thing. Some people may not know how to feel about it, but that's what's happening right now. And so I don't know, Lynden, if they're going to be able to maneuver Zayas the way Top Rank would traditionally maneuver one of their stars or up and coming stars. They may be forced to put Zayas in more difficult fights if that's the only way forward.
Yeah, well, maybe in the interim they might have to sort of farm him out to the Saudis for their cards. Maybe they seem to have a bit of a fascination with the 154-pound division, don't they? But look, it is a sad time, mate. I mean, obviously I'm not American, so I don't know how it all works, but I do know back in the day, growing up, it was seeing all those fights. It was NBC, CBS, ABC. They were all on free-to-air TV, and then of course it went to ESPN and all these Showtime, HBO, and it's a bit of a sad time when you think about it. But I think it's just a transitional period. I think Top Rank don't seem overly stressed about the whole thing. I don't think they would have willingly given up the ESPN thing without a fight. I know ESPN made the call, but I just get the feeling that they've got a few irons in the fire. And I think Top Rank will be okay. And I think maybe, as I said, in the meantime, they might farm Zayas and a few of their other fighters out to other shows if there's opportunities for them. But I think they'll be okay. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up with DAZN or an Amazon Prime or someone like that, or both, maybe. But I think they'll be okay. Bob's been around for so long. He's a survivor. He's an innovator.
Right.
He's a pioneer. I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, I gotta say, a lot of people don't agree with me, but I think he's the greatest promoter of all time because of his longevity.
Yep.
He has adapted to the times, and which is insane. Look, he got it wrong sometimes, but he always tried. Like when he was trying to appeal to the kids, to the young crowd, and he was putting Nelly to do like concerts for during the Pacquiao versus, I think, Margarito, I think it was. Nelly singing a love song at a boxing event. That didn't work, but he put a stop to it. He stopped doing it. I mean, maybe Turki Al Sheikh could take a cue from that, but he always tried to evolve. Like he used to hate women's boxing, and then he came around and he signed Michaela Mayer, and now he's having them headline cards, and so he's always evolved with the times, and so credit to him. You know what I mean? So.
I'm with you, mate. I'm a big fan of Bob Arum, and I mean, you go back to the even the 70s, but especially the 80s when he was sort of ruling the roost. Obviously, going head to head with Don King as well. People forget about Don King, and a lot of people don't like Don King, but he made the sport very, very entertaining, and him and Bob sort of going back and forth was really great back in the day. But look, it's an end of an era sort of coming up soon as far as the TV goes. But obviously, Bob's 93 years old now, and I'm sure they've got a succession plan in place for him. I've got a feeling that it's already in place, to be honest. I see Bob mainly as more the figurehead these days rather than actually running the show. He just turns up and does the thing. So look, as I said before, mate, I think Top Rank will be okay. The one of the original promoters still out there. I think they still do a great job, and I've been to a few of their shows in the last few years, and geez, they do it well. Being at the show, the atmosphere, and just the whole week is really good. I really enjoy Top Rank shows, so I'm hoping they hang in there and put a bit of resistance against the whole Saudi invasion and the TKO invasion. And I'm hoping that actually that Top Rank and Golden Boy and maybe Matchroom can all sort of work in conjunction with each other to combat what's going on over there in Saudi, because I've been pretty vocal. I don't like it. I don't like where it's heading. I'm sure that's on the agenda as well, but I don't like where it's heading with the TKO thing and having all the big fights over in Saudi, and Turki Al Sheikh really starting to put the the squeeze on the sport at the moment. And I just think we're starting to see what he's truly made of, and I don't think he's actually that nice a person. And I just hope the other promoters can hang tough.
You know what I don't like? So we could talk about turkey. It ain't Thanksgiving yet, but we could talk turkey. I just cringe at. There's no better way to put this. All the ass kissing out in the open makes me cringe. It makes me cringe. I can't stand it. You know what I mean? Like these grown ass men just groveling at his feet. Like I joke about the holding the hand thing, but even that, like, why do they have to hold his hand? Like that's you could tell me all day, oh, it's a Saudi thing. Okay, I guess. You know what I mean? But whatever, that's the least of my worries. But they put him in the Nevada Hall of Fame. Like I mean, like they're giving them awards for Man of the Year. The WBC was. I'm just like, what are we doing? And then everyone's like, I just don't they understand that he's basically an ambassador of Saudi Arabia, and he's doing this with Saudi's money. Like when people say, they're like, oh, Turkey, he's the one with the turkey. He's the one paying. Like, no, like anybody could do all this stuff with other people's money. Like if a multi-billionaire gave me millions to pay fighters to make fights, well, I could do it too. Like that's not, what are we doing? And there's an old saying in pro wrestling. I don't know how much pro wrestling you watch, Lynden, but
not much these days. But
but like when Vince McMahon was going up against Ted Turner, WCW, WWF, like it's there's a restaurant. I'm trying to remember which restaurant it was, but he's like, I knew WCW was going to go out of business one day. He's like, why? Just any fool can run a business in the red. Anybody. Because they were just overpaying all the wrestlers and losing money every year. And it didn't matter if they were beating WWF in the ratings. Like they were in the red, right? Turkey Al-Sheikh has already gone out in the open and told people he's not making any money with these events. He's not making any money. Like, and so he's running it in the red with a government's money, Saudi Arabia's oil money, right? And people are acting like he's this genius. This is insane. Now, look, a lot of these fighters, a lot of these promoters and managers, people in the boxing business have families to feed, so I don't want to be too harsh on them, right? But oh my God, like, do you not have some like integrity? Like, you know what I mean? Like, or some like, integrity is not the word. Don't you have some like
some pride?
Yeah, pride. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you groveling at this feet?
I saw it actually firsthand in New York. I was at the Hamza Shiraz and Belunga fight, and he was sitting just sort of over from me at ringside there, and I was just watching him throughout the night, and the amount of people coming over and, like you said, just groveling towards him. Look, I think it's sort of good in one way that he's shaken things up and, and like you said, created a lot of opportunities and paid a lot of fighters. I get that, but I just don't think in the long run for the well-being of boxing that he's good for the sport. I really don't. Now, look, maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't like it. And maybe I'm old-fashioned. I like the 80s, 90s, and 2000s of all the big fights in Vegas and England and that sort of stuff. I mean, that's just me. But I just don't like that Turkey Al-Sheikh at the moment is just rule. Well, he's ruling the sport at the moment, but when does the time come where it becomes an iron fist and it gets a little bit more regimented once he's got everyone exactly where he wants them? So it's just me. I know a lot of people differ in their opinions, but I just don't like the involvement.
So what's going to happen if one day they just remove Turkey from his position and the new dude in charge of sport decides, like, I really don't like this boxing stuff. Like, I'm going to go spend money on something else.
Yeah.
What's going to happen then? Like, it's like, that's what I'm wondering. Because that's
what would be entertaining, though, would be what all those people scurrying to cover their asses. That would be the most entertaining thing of the whole thing if they pulled the rug out of everyone that have just, been, like you said, kissing the ring and groveling all over him. What happens to them? But look, that's why I think it's I admire someone like an Oscar De La Hoya at the moment. If you notice, he's not really all in anymore. When it first sort of happened, him and Turkey were doing great things. Even Eddie Hearn to some extent. To me, this looks like they've taken a step back. So maybe they're looking at the big picture as well.
Yeah.
But let's hope so, because if the rug was pulled, those guys are the ones they're going to have to get boxing back on its feet. But then also we've got the TKO boxing to contend with as well. I know someone said before that, well, fighters don't have to sign. Well, I think a lot of fighters will. And what does that do? I've read it a lot into the Ali Act over there now, and they're trying to strip that down. And I just don't like that either. I mean, it's been there for a while. When you've got promoters like Eddie Hearn saying they don't agree with it, it just sort of shows that maybe it's not a great thing to be pulling that apart.
There's a lot to look into that. The only thing, like for me, Lynden, is even with the Ali Act, and I get there's a lot of protections for fighters, but I still personally know fighters that are shelved. I know I've heard story. I'm not going to mention any names, but where fighters have to be paying their own opponents. I've heard stories where there's still a lot of nightmare scenarios that a lot of fighters put up with. In Mexico, I mean, there's fighters that they only get paid, they don't sell a certain amount of tickets to the fight, right? I don't know how much of a practice that is in other countries, but and it doesn't really extend worldwide. It doesn't protect a lot of fighters, right? And I do think rights for fighters have to be extended like a little wider for me. And while I understand it's a tough business, and you'll know better than me how tough it is to be a promoter in the sport of boxing, it's likely not very easy to make money in the sport. And but at the end of the day, I still believe in fighters having guaranteed purses. It's just the way I feel about it. I know it's easier said than done, but I don't know. Like I don't know. Doesn't mean TKO is going to make any of that better. They can make it worse. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of a difficult situation. But what I will say is this: man, does the sport have a lot of issues right now? Like a lot of issues, and the Ali Act isn't helping with those issues. Now, from a fan's perspective, a lot of fans just want to see the fights, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next 2 or 3 years, because TKO is only going to work if they deliver the fights. That's it.
Yeah,
that's the only way it's going to work. Fans will overlook everything else if you give them what they want and they're happy with the product. UFC has proven this, that the fans won't give a shit if the fighters aren't going to pay, right? That's the way it is. So TKO needs to produce, and they need to give the fans what they want. If not, then what are we doing it for? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's all good in theory with everything. The only thing I didn't sort of like that I read that possibly they were going to, if you're in their organisation, that is it. You can't fight fighters from outside TKO. Now, hopefully that's wrong, and hopefully that gets rectified. But the one thing that sort of gets me, I know we're all talking about with the Ali Act and what TKO are trying to do with everything. I mean, one thing that boxing doesn't have that a lot of sports do have, it's player unions or player representatives. We don't have that in boxing, and I would have thought that if someone like Turkey was really serious about fixing boxing and more long term instead of the now, there would be something in place where there would be some sort of union for fighters where they've got protection of someone legally who can protect their interests. Because at the moment, it's just not the case. Because half the time, the people that are doing the fleecing are the ones that are being entrusted to actually look after them, managers, promoters, and that sort of stuff. So, yeah, and you really see that later in life with a lot of fighters who have nothing. They have no money. They have no support. They have no nothing. So I would love to see something like that. But even to the point where, I've mentioned before, like I know in Nevada, $1 from every ticket that gets sold goes towards, I think it's amateur combat sports in Nevada. Wouldn't it be great to have a nationwide thing? I'm talking about the States here, but to have, it might even be $2 of every ticket sold goes towards some sort of pension or hardship fund or something where fighters are being looked after, because at the moment they have nothing. And once we're done with them and once they've entertained us, it's like wipe the hands, see you later. So I would like to see all these power brokers like the Turkeys and Oscars and all those types of guys, Eddies, really, if they're going to do something constructive and for the benefit of the sport, instead of bickering about all this sort of stuff and trying to make things better for themselves, maybe just try and do something for the fighters. Because, I mean, and boxing's probably probably the most common sport in the world where there's so many athletes that are having hard times and dying early from hardships. And we saw it. I'm not sure whether Dwight Muhammad Kawi had any hardships, but you know what I mean? Like, a lot of fighters are dying way too early of issues that have happened in the ring, and they just have no protection at the moment. So that's what I'd like to see.
Look, I agree with a lot of what you said. It's so, like, I guess for me, the issue with boxing is that if you get a boxing license, you're quote unquote a professional, right? Like
Yeah.
the word professional gets thrown out a little too much. The way I see it is like if you get around, and this is where the sanctioning body should come in, because like they collect a percentage from these fighters, right? And I believe that if you become a ranked fight, once you're ranked worldwide, right, you're in quote unquote the big leagues. And to me, if you're ranked like top 25 at any point in your career, I think you should qualify for some type of pension. You should qualify for health care. You should qualify for something like that. We just can't do it for every single fighter because if somebody turns pro, he has 2 pro fights. Then I don't really consider that person a professional boxer, right?
Yeah.
Even though they technically were because they had fights, but if you make it in the quote unquote big leagues that you would with any other sport, how else can we determine that other than rankings, right? I do think that that should qualify these fighters to be taken care of later in life. And something like what you mentioned, a percentage that could come in to take care of them should be something to consider, in my opinion. But
yeah. And look, and when you think about it, I know the obvious argument, oh, the promoters are out of pocket. Well, okay, maybe a little bit, but really, with what you're paying for tickets these days, are people really going to miss $2? I mean, if a ticket for Canelo and Crawford's $478, is anyone really going to notice if it goes to $480? I don't think so. So it's not really a lot. And think of that event, if they get 65,000 people there, it might even be tiered. So the real expensive tickets might be $5 and it goes down to maybe even just $1. But they might earn, now that event could put $250,000 in the coffers of some sort of fund and it wouldn't even be missed. So there's things that can be put in place if they wanted to, I think anyway. But too many fighters, I hear it's way too much of such and such a fighter is ill. They've got head issues. They've got mental illness. They're bankrupt or homeless. It's just too much of that going on, and just far too much of once we're finished with these fighters, they're just thrown out over our shoulders like trash. And I just hate to see it.
Josh Taylor announces his retirement. Done with the sport. It's if I read correctly, medically retired.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
you know, but even if it wasn't, I mean, I still think it was the right time. You know, but sometimes fate makes a decision for you, right? But I think good decision. Look, one thing people can never take away from Josh Taylor is that, look, yes, he lost to Teofimo Lopez, but at the end of the day, he stepped up and he fought him, right? At the end of the day, he got in there with the best available fighters, and he was at one point the undisputed champion of the world. Nobody could ever take that away from him. Ironically, we had this conversation not long ago whether or not he's a Hall of Famer. I don't think he quite hit it, though. I don't think he quite made it. It's going to be hard with a lot of these fighters retiring. They qualify after 3 years now, and there's only 3 spots. It's going to be hard for Josh Taylor to get in, but it's not impossible. You know, but thoughts on Josh Taylor calling it a day?
Yeah. Look, a very, very good fighter over the journey. I'm not going to call him a great fighter or anything like that. He was just a very, very good fighter. But you're right, he won the undisputed 140-pound titles. Had some really good fights over the journey. He was a warrior. Will he get into the Hall of Fame? Look, probably not. But I've probably seen fighters that have maybe achieved less get in the Hall of Fame. So who knows? But I think it just depends on what fighters are probably around the mark as well and who they put up. But yeah, I really enjoyed watching Josh Taylor over the journey. The Teofimo Lopez fight was probably obviously his last big fight. He didn't look great in his last fight either. So it's probably time. But look, he can be proud of his career. And as I said, I really enjoyed watching him throughout his career, but it is time.
Yeah, for sure. So, hey, shout out to Josh Taylor, and made Scotland proud. So, good for him. One last thing. So Shields is out here challenging Laila Ali to a fight. Laila Ali is 47 years old. Laila Ali is going to be, she's just a couple of months away from being 48 years old. Laila Ali hasn't fought in almost 2 decades. Laila Ali was retired for 5 years already when women's boxing made their debut in the Olympics in 2012, where Clarissa Shields fought, right? So by the time by the time Shields turned pro, Laila Ali had already been retired for almost a decade. I mean, I just don't. What are we doing here? And then she's offering $15 million, and it's like, you look at, I don't know if you had a chance to look at the check. It's a fake check with a fake bank, with a fake address. It's not even a real check that she's offering, but whatever, right? It's a prop. But I don't know, man. I don't think it's hitting people how ridiculous it is. This is literally, just try to imagine Dimitri Bivol calling out Joe Calzaghe to a fight. Hey, Joe, let's do this. Let's see who's the best light heavyweight out of the two of us. The best versus the best. You're undefeated. I challenge you to a fight. And just think about how ridiculed Bivol would get if he was challenging Joe Calzaghe.
Yeah,
right?
she doesn't do herself any favors, does she, Clarissa Shields? And look, she's been a really, really, really good fighter. Some might argue, as far as women's boxing goes, a great fighter. But she doesn't do herself any favors with the way she carries herself and the way she speaks and the way she disrespects people. And look, she's been a really, really good fighter. But look, she keeps going on about this whole GOAT thing. I don't know. I don't understand why it's all just about who's the greatest of all time. Just be comfortable in your own legacy, I suppose. And I know she gets frustrated because Katie Taylor gets thrown up as the greatest fighter of all time. And I know it really gets to her. But Katie Taylor, I think her resume is, in my opinion, 10 times what Clarissa Shields is as far as the quality of opposition goes and what she's done. And, I mean, you saw the woman that Clarissa Shields knocked out for the heavyweight title earlier in the year or last year, whatever it was. I mean, it was embarrassing. So while she's been a really, really good fighter, I think she should be more focusing on, again, her own legacy, but also being the trailblazer for all those other women coming through. And I don't think it's a good look to have arguably the best, if not second best, fighter, or top 5 pound for pound women's fighter of all time, carrying on the way she does. If you're out there and you're a female boxer and you want a role model, look squarely at someone like a Katie Taylor or Amanda Serrano, who are just class acts. They really are. Even on the card as well, Ellie Scottney and Chantel Cameron and those types, just really good role models. I just don't think Clarissa Shields needs to carry on the way she does. Now, I know I'm from Australia. Our culture's a little bit different to the American culture. I know a lot of the fans over there like the razzmatazz and trash talking, but I, for one, I just don't like it. And she's just, if anything, she's not enhancing her legacy. She's really ripping it down. And again, I know she might be frustrated. A lot of people say Katie Taylor's the best, but I just think Katie Taylor's done so much more for women's boxing than Clarissa Shields has. That's just my opinion.
And look, Laila Ali isn't innocent in this. I mean, she's getting in the banter, or she suggested she could school, Clarissa Shields. But at the end of the day, she's a fighter. Like that she's always going to be a fighter, right?
Yeah,
it's
an
how
ego.
fighters talk. Yeah, like she probably thinks she could go in there. I don't know. Maybe she does think she could go in there at the age of 48 and do it. I don't know, right? But at the end of the day, I mean, if you're a champion in your prime, you're calling out someone who's been retired for 2 decades.
Yeah.
At almost 50 years old, that's who you're calling out. People got a Mario Barrios for just accepting a fight with Pacquiao, but he wasn't calling out Manny Pacquiao. He wasn't campaigning for a Manny Pacquiao fight. And Manny's actually a little 3 years younger than Laila. I mean, and had fought just 3 years ago. It's like this is amazing to me. But Um, I she does herself no favor. She said she could beat Gennady Golovkin. I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah. But
She said she could beat up Keith Thurman. Like, I mean,
oh, yeah, I know it's ridiculous. But if Laila really wanted to get it ahead and stay there, she doesn't have to fight her. She just has to keep saying, "Hey, Clarissa, everyone knows I was the better fighter than you and the greater fighter." That would just give Clarissa so many sleepless nights. So I don't think she really needs to actually get in the ring with her to get in her head,
you know what she
because
should do? She should just be like, I mean, I'm clearly so much better than her. It's not even worth it fighting her. Like, she just
yeah,
said something like that. She could really get under her skin.
imagine
Um,
Clarissa Shields having a meltdown, couldn't you?
yeah, I mean, like, now, I do want to say this. So you see, Layla, when because she fought, like, I believe, super middle,
Hmm.
she finished girls over. Like, she knocked them out,
Yeah.
right? So the girls weren't that good, but she made sure, like, yeah, look at what I do to them, right? Um, I felt bad for Daniels a little bit because people were really, in order to kind of shit on Shields, they were kind of talking about how she just beat a novice, she just beat a girl that's not that good, and it's just, and I promise everybody, I'm not trying to be mean, I'm not trying to be a sexist, I'm far from it. Okay, I support women's boxing. I have friends that are female boxers. It has nothing to do with that, but my God, compared to the women like in Tater's division and lower,
Hmm.
they're just not that good. Like,
No.
yeah, you have your Savannah Marshalls and Green, you got girls like that, but
Hmm.
overall, I mean, I just want to throw this out there to you, Lynden. What should be champion per amount of participants ratio in a division? Like, every at least 50 fighters for a champion? Like what?
I would have
There's
thought so.
4 belts for divisions with like 15 women in it. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Well, I mean, again, you look at the woman that Clarissa Shields beat for the heavyweight title when she won that. I mean, she shouldn't have been allowed in the ring. Look, I remember you actually saying on here once about there should be a cap on maybe the limit of where women's can be, and I agree. I don't maybe over. I was going to say 160, maybe it's 175 as the absolute limit, but I'm with you as far as there should be maybe a cap on. And look, the sanctioning bodies don't help the situation by actually having a belt available for the heavyweights, like having 4 belts available at heavyweight and light heavyweight. It's embarrassing. But look, I'm sure over the journey over the next maybe 20, 25 years, there will be a lot more women coming through. But the thing is, you look at a lot of women, let's face it, in society, you don't get a lot of women that actually weigh over 160 pounds or 175 pounds.
Not
You
in
don't.
boxing shape.
No, and the ones that do exactly aren't exactly in the shape to be getting in there and fighting 10 rounds at an elite pace. So, yeah, without being disrespectful to the females out there, most women, when you think about it, are anywhere, I'm just trying to think in pounds here, sort of between, I don't know, 115 to 150, I suppose. That's probably seems to be, I think even 150 might be a bit, but that's sort of the average women's weight. So when you're getting above that, you're getting the waters where maybe, yeah, they shouldn't be fighting for world titles. But hopefully over the journey, it'll all be worked out. I know it's a little bit sensitive in society these days on equality and all this sort of stuff. And if there's 4 belts for the men, there should be 4 for the women and all this sort of stuff. But I think a little bit of common sense has also got to come into it.
Yeah, they got to start using common sense. And the IBO is giving belts to the women too. And you got the other. Yeah, it's just
Is
like,
it a ring
guys,
magazine
what
belt
are we
too?
doing? And then the women are winning like interim belts now. Like, I'm seeing all
Oh,
interim
geez.
champ. I'm like, interim champion. Like, what? You can't, like, it's not because the champion is injured or the champion. No, they're just giving away, like, well, I can't say giving away. I guess they still got to win it, but it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
But I know there's the other Australian girl. What's her name?
Shay Keneally, she was over there. I think she might be next for Clarissa Shields. The only
Yeah,
thing with Shay, I think she might be a bit small for Clarissa. I think she's at 175, but she's not a big 175. I think she's more a 160 pounder. But she went over to Detroit for the fight to put a name out there, throw a hat in the ring. So I've got a feeling she might be next. And good
so
on her too.
Shay Canilli, right? Look,
Shay Keneally, yeah.
so look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know how good she is. I'm not saying she's bad because I just don't know. I just seen the girls she's fought. Yeah, she beat up the girls that she fought, but I mean,
Yeah, they weren't
the,
exactly.
the girls she beat for the title is like, oh my god, like what are we
Yeah,
what are we doing?
yeah.
I couldn't believe what I was watching,
I'll tell you
and
who we want to step up though, D style is someone like Desley Robinson. I know she's again a little
sure.
bit small, but I'd love to see her step up and maybe fight Krista Shields in a bit of a catch weight situation.
Yeah, like I just think anything above 160 should just be the
Yeah,
heavyweight for the women. Like,
yeah.
what are we doing? Like,
Okay.
it's there's just isn't enough women that big. Um,
Yeah.
there's a big drop off from, like there's 300 participants per division in lower weight classes, and there's a big drop off after 154. It's big.
Yeah,
Then it
it's
goes down
massive.
to 30, 25
Yeah.
participants,
Yeah, they
and
need to clean it up a little bit. Yeah, they do. But I tell you one thing though, mate. Like being at Madison Square Garden for that Netflix show, I tell you what, there's some pretty talented women out there. They really are. I was really impressed, obviously, with the main event, but Ellie Scottney on the undercard, Shanika Johnson, Chantel Cameron, just some really good girls on the undercard. So women boxing's in good hands, and we criticise Jake Paul for a lot, but I tell you what, he's done a hell of a lot with women's boxing.
no, yes, and. That was a really good card. Credit where credit is due, for
Yep.
sure. So they did a great job with that
And
one.
the atmosphere in the venue that night, mate, it was just as good an atmosphere as any fight that I've ever been. And I've been to a lot of big fights, and it matched all of the biggest fights that I've been to. It was electric. It really was. It's a shame the fight didn't measure up, but I think they did a really good job on production and the hype and everything. It was electric in there that night.
Is it fair to say that, like here's what I noticed about the main event, and I'm going off of an interview that Katie did before the fight, and she basically said, "Look, I need to fight more discipline and make it easier on myself,
Mm.
right?" And it seems like that's what she did. She just fought a more disciplined fight and was winning the rounds more clearly. And as a result, maybe the fight wasn't as exciting, but I think that was the point, right? Like, uh, Katie wanted to avoid getting into another firefight with Amanda Serrano, box a more intelligent fight, and I think, I mean, she earned that right to do that because I think she just had to prove she was a better fighter,
Yeah. But
and leave no more questions in.
Amanda just handed her the fight on a silver platter, though, when you think about it. I mean, Katie Taylor, you're right. She had the fight smarter, which she did. But gee, she have had to have been surprised when the fight started that how easy Serrano made it for her by not actually pressing the fight to actually stand off and try and box her. Katie Taylor just didn't believe or couldn't believe her luck. And it was just a nice, cruisy 10-round decision win. I mean, you might have given Serrano maybe a couple of rounds, but I don't think Katie Taylor could believe that what Serrano dished up on the night, and she had to just go for it. Now, I know she didn't want to cop
Yeah,
as much punishment as the first fights, but the fact that Katie Taylor wasn't prepared, her plans were not to really engage with Serrano and box from a distance, should have been a catalyst of Amanda Serrano to say, all right, well, I've just got to go for it. This could be one of her
yeah,
last fights. So I just couldn't believe that she went through the whole fight. And more importantly, Serrano's corner didn't mid-fight say, Amanda, the fight's slipping away with this game plan. You need to change it up and go after her. There was nothing. She boxed 10 rounds. She boxed the 10th round the same as she boxed the first round, which was just staggering to me.
yeah. I don't know. It was a situation where she just overthought it, like just like you know what I mean. And maybe she wanted to prove that she could outbox Tate or something. I don't know, but
Yeah.
just one of those situations. It's hindsight 2020, but uh, I just can't believe like her and Jake were in the corner, like hoping, like acting as if it might go their way. I was like, I don't know what you
Yeah.
think is going to happen, but
It
you
was
ain't
not
going to win
going.
this one.
But hey, look, again with that event though, full credit to both girls who were so classy in the lead up to the event, so well spoken, respectful of each other. And again, it's a shame the fight didn't measure up. But I think as a trilogy, I think we look at it favorably. And yeah, I just think Katie Taylor, and Amanda Serrano for that matter, just absolute ornaments of the sport. And as far as role models, as I said before, just the two you would put up on a pedestal every day of the week.
And I just want to throw this one out there. Obviously, we all saw Trinica Johnson. She should be
Yep.
Metcalf, in
Yep.
very dominating fashion, actually.
Mm.
Just had her way with Metcalf the whole fight. And a lot of people felt it was like a 50-50 fight on paper. It did not look that way at all. Shanika Johnson, obviously on top of the world right now. I'm just going to throw this out there. I see people get title shots all the time that they didn't, quote unquote, earn, and they didn't. People wonder why are they in that position, et cetera, et cetera. I think this is just me. I'm just throwing this out there, and I know it's coming from a biased perspective, but there's somebody that has a win over Shanika Johnson in the division, right?
Yes.
And has a blueprint theoretically to beat her, and is currently with a healthy shoulder, and that's Shannon O'Connell.
Yeah.
And anyone who's, because a lot of people they only saw Shannon O'Connell in one fight. That's Ebony Bridges' fight. They're judging her off of that one performance, and you want to judge a fight off of one performance, healthy or not, that's on you, right? But she does have a win over Shanika Johnson.
She does, and a good win. It was a unanimous decision win.
Yeah, it was a good win, and she did win that fight. And that's the last time before, like she obviously suffered the injury after that, but why not? Like it's a good opportunity for Shanika Johnson to avenge a loss if she wants to avenge it, and and Shannon O'Connell gets one more shot. Why not? It would be a huge fight for Undisputed, but that's just my opinion. There's a good storyline there, and that's a fight that they can make. It's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I spoke to Shannon recently, and she's the same, scratching her head. Like Shanika Johnson's fighting for the Undisputed title at Madison Square Garden on Netflix, and here I am back in Australia scrounging to get fights. So it's a cruel game sometimes. But look, I would love to see it. I'm not sure whether it will happen. I think Shanika will probably look at more bigger money fights down the road, unless maybe they bring it to Australia or whatever. But I think the fight that Shannon would like even more than that would be, well, actually, I won't say more because at least the titles would be on the line with Shanika. But Sky Nicholson, right. That's the fight for Shannon. And it makes sense now. She's at 122. Shannon's gone from 122 to 118. She doesn't care. Look, Sky Nicholson's coming back to fight in Australia. Is it later? When is it? She's fighting
mid-August. Yeah.
Is it? So she's coming back to Australia to fight an Indian girl here in Australia with a shocking record that she'll beat easy. I cannot get my head around why you've got a Shannon O'Connell who's in training for a fight of her own, why they wouldn't put them together for a massive all-Aussie fight. It just blows me away. But that's the fight that I would more probably like to see. Of course, as I said, with the titles on the line, Shanika makes more sense, but the real grudge fight would be Shannon versus Sky Nicholson. Or no love lost between the two, let's put it that way.
Well, speaking of, I do believe in one thing at a time, right? Shannon has a fight coming up, doesn't want to overlook that girl. So, and that girl's fought as high as 130, so pretty big girl, right?
Yep.
But I will say this, with all that said, I mean, they did it. Mother, son in the same card. Personally, I think No Limit should have taken advantage of that once in a lifetime opportunity to promote that. Like they should have done it for whatever reason. I'm just the guy over here. I think they're upset that she beat Jazzy Parr. I think that's what it is. It's like, come on, what are we doing? All right. Like I just don't. I don't get it. Like they're over here. Like I look at them. They're trying to push, Jarvis. I mean, like, really, is Jarvis is he packing the houses like that? He just got embarrassed and knocked out by Keith Thurman. Like, well, what are we doing? And Jazzy Parr isn't bringing in the house either. Like, and you're putting her in there against girls that just don't deserve to be in the ring with her. Like, what are we doing? That's why that's the part that mind boggles me. And Cooper and Shannon were not going to be that expensive. Okay, if Ace could have put them on, No Limit could have put them on.
Yeah,
and I'll never understand it.
No, I'm with you there, mate. And it was said before, they've got the keys of the Ferrari here in Australia. They have access to all the TV and money and sponsorship and all that sort of stuff. And I just don't think they're using the resources well enough to really do what's best for Aussie boxing. I just think they're padding the records of their fighters. I just don't think they're not putting it into in the overdrive. Put it that way. They're driving it in second gear at the moment, and they've got the ability to do it. Let's hope they change down the track. But what better fight than the opportunity would have been to have Shannon and Cooper on the same card, or better yet, Shannon against Sky or something like that. There's so many things they could do that they're just not doing at the moment. But let's hope that changes.
Well, in fairness, they're not really pushing women's boxing at all.
No, they don't. Not at all.
It's just is what it is. But what are you gonna do? Unless your name is Jessie Barr, you know what I mean? Like, unless for some reason she's the one, like she's Neo, right? Like they believe in her, but it's whatever. But with that said, Lynden, we basically covered the whole thing. Any final thoughts before we wrap this one up?
No, mate. No, all good. Just want to thank everyone out there that followed my journey over to the States a couple of weeks ago with the 3 shows over there. It was really a lot of views, a lot of comments, a lot of feedback. So if you're a follower here, maybe give us a follow as well and look at what we do as well. I love what you do here, D-Style. It's great stuff. And as always, it's great to come on there and share my thoughts with you as well.
For sure. All right, guys. And for Lynden, this is D-Style, and we're out of here. Peace.
11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5,